Rebecca had guided wagons through the pass for 12 hard, lonely years. Her horse, Star, was the only living thing she trusted completely. The leg snapped in a gopher hole, bone shining white through gray skin. Rebecca dismounted, checked the damage, and knew there was no hope. She knelt beside Star's heaving side and whispered apologies into her mane. The rifle shot echoed off the cliffs, and then there was silence only. Rebecca sat in the bloody dirt for an hour, unable to move on. A stranger's boots appeared in her blurred vision, dusty and brown. He was young, with spectacles and a black bag full of medicine. His name was Dr. Eli, the new veterinarian from back east somewhere. He saw the horse, saw her face, and sat down without speaking once. After a long minute, he said that was the kindest shot I ever heard. Rebecca looked up and said, "Kindness feels exactly like murder today, sir." Eli said, "I have put down 40 animals, and it never gets easier." He added, "The ones who cry after are the ones with real hearts." Rebecca stood up, wiped her face with her sleeve, and started walking west. Eli picked up her heavy saddle and followed her without asking permission. She said, "I do not need a babysitter, especially one who wears spectacles." He said, "I am not babysitting. I am carrying leather because you are grieving." They walked 3 miles in silence, her boots crunching on loose shale. Finally, she said his name was Star, and he saved my life twice. Eli asked what happened, and she told him about a flash flood last spring. Star had pulled her from the current when she slipped and fell under. Eli said a horse like that deserves a grave with flowers, not rocks. Rebecca stopped walking and stared at him like he had 2 heads. She said, "No one ever said something that gentle about my horse before." He shrugged and adjusted the saddle on his already aching shoulders. They walked another 2 miles before she asked his name properly. He said Eli, and he had moved west because his father disowned him. Rebecca asked why, and he said, "Because I cried over a dying sheep." She laughed bitterly and said, "Your father would hate me then, too." Eli said, "I do not hate anyone who shows mercy, not even my father." They reached a small creek where Rebecca collapsed on a flat rock. Eli set down the saddle and fetched water in his hat for her. She drank and watched him rinse blood from her rifle stock carefully. She said, "You are strange, Eli, and I mean that as a broken compliment." He said, "Strange keeps me alive in a world that wants men hard." That night, they made camp under a cottonwood tree near the trail. Eli built a fire while Rebecca stared at the flames without blinking. He cooked beans and handed her the first portion without being asked. She ate mechanically, then asked if he had ever lost someone he loved. Eli said, "My mother, to fever, when I was 14 years old exactly." I held her hand, and she told me to never stop being soft. Rebecca said my father beat softness out of me with a belt. Eli looked at her and said, "I am sorry, Rebecca, truly sorry for that." She cried again, this time without shame, because darkness hid her face. Eli moved to sit beside her but did not touch her at all. He said, "You do not have to be hard for me, not even for 1 minute." Rebecca leaned against his shoulder and wept until she had nothing left. He stayed perfectly still, letting her take whatever comfort she needed. She fell asleep against him, and he did not move until dawn broke. When she woke, she was embarrassed and pulled away quickly. Eli said good morning, then handed her coffee in a chipped tin cup. She said, "I never cry in front of anyone, Eli, ever in my life." He said, "Then I am honored you chose me to see your real face." Rebecca stared at him and felt something crack in her armored chest. They walked the final 2 miles to Willow Creek in easier silence. Eli carried the saddle to the livery and set it on a peg. Rebecca stood awkwardly, not knowing how to say goodbye to him. She said, "I owe you for carrying that heavy thing so far." Eli said, "You owe me nothing, but I would like to see you again." Rebecca said, "I'm leaving for another guide job in 3 days." Eli said, "Then I will walk you to the pass and carry your saddle." She laughed, a rusty sound, and said, "You are persistent, Dr. Eli." He smiled and said my mother also taught me to never give up easily. For the next 3 days, Rebecca found excuses to visit the vet's clinic. She brought him a pie, then a hammer, then a story about Star. Eli listened to every word as if each one was precious gold. On the 3rd evening, he asked her not to take the guide job. She said, "I do not know how to do anything except lead wagons." He said, "You could learn to help me with animals if you wanted." Rebecca said, "I am not gentle like you, Eli. I am rough and scared." He touched her hand and said, "Star did not think you were rough." She pulled away, but her eyes were wet with fresh, unfamiliar tears. She took the job, but promised to return in 6 weeks exactly. Eli nodded and said, "I will be here. Same clinic, same stupid spectacles." She left at dawn, and he watched until her dust settled on the road. Every night she thought of his soft voice and his gentle, clean hands. Every night he wrote letters he never mailed, telling her about his day. She returned in 5 weeks, not 6, because she could not wait longer. Eli was shoeing a mule when she walked into the clinic unannounced. He dropped the hoof and crossed the room in 3 long strides. He said, "You are early," and she said, "I missed your stupid spectacles." He laughed and pulled her into a hug that lasted a full minute. She buried her face in his shirt and breathed in hay and medicine. She whispered, "I think I love you, Eli, and that terrifies me completely." He said, "I have loved you since the moment you shot your horse gently." She pulled back and said, "That is the strangest declaration of love ever." He said, "Our love will be strange, Rebecca, because we are both strange." She kissed him, soft and clumsy, tasting tears and dust and relief. He kissed her back and did not care who saw them in the clinic. They married in the spring under the same cottonwood tree from the trail. Rebecca wore a clean dress, and Eli wore his best spectacles for her. She promised to never shoot another horse without him holding her hand. He promised to carry her saddle for the rest of their lives together. The preacher cried during the vows because their story was so painfully beautiful. They opened a combined guiding and veterinary business called Star's Legacy. Rebecca softened over time, and Eli grew stronger from her hard edges. She taught him to track wolves, and he taught her to stitch wounds. Their first child was a girl with Rebecca's stubborn chin and Eli's soft eyes. They named her Star, and Rebecca cried happy tears for the first time. Eli held the baby and said, "See, Rebecca, mercy always brings new life." She kissed his forehead and said, "You were right about everything. Damn you." He laughed and said, "I'm a vet, so I'm used to being right." They grew old with their hands intertwined, calloused and gentle together. On Rebecca's deathbed, Eli held her and whispered thank you for the saddle. She smiled and said, "Thank you for carrying it, and my heart, so far." She closed her eyes and he kissed her forehead like the first time. The camera holds on a weathered saddle hanging on a peg, never used again.